Your first real paycheck feels like true independence. Mathematically, it is the most dangerous money you will ever earn. This graph tracks a scenario you might be living right now. Your income line rises sharply as you land a decent-paying job, but your actual wealth, the money you retain, stays entirely flat at zero. You make decent money, but you still live paycheck to paycheck. Most people believe they are struggling because they earn too little. We need to kill that assumption. When you look at the data, this is not an income problem. The actual math reveals a different reality. Cash flow in your 20s is drained by 5 specific, repeatable decisions. These are invisible leaks destroying your money before you even realize it is happening. Individually, these choices feel harmless. Collectively, they calcify into a permanently smaller financial life unless you learn exactly how to spot them. Hedonic adaptation. Baseline spending expands to match a new salary instantly. In scenario 1, your entire $15,000 raise flows into upgrades. Your savings rate remains flat. Scenario 2 applies a 50% capture rule. You deliberately route half into investments and half to modest upgrades. That untouched half never enters your daily spending habits. It's routed into broad market vehicles like the S&P 500, which historically average returns in the 7% range, creating a massive compounding gap that widens every single year. You are allowed to enjoy your money. The hazard is letting lifestyle inflation happen automatically, by default, without your saving version ever being consulted. Banking half a raise is not a vow of permanent discipline. It is a mathematical lever you pull to guarantee your wealth actually grows alongside your lifestyle. The consequences of running without a safety net are severe. According to the Federal Reserve, 37% of American adults could not cover a $400 emergency expense using cash or its equivalent. Operating finances without a cash buffer is exactly like driving a car without a spare tire. On a normal Tuesday, you save trunk space. On the day a tire blows, a 15-minute inconvenience turns into a stranded, expensive crisis. Look at this timeline tracking a standard $1,200 car repair. Put onto a credit card at a 24% APR, paying only $100 a month, the interest accumulates. It takes 14 months to clear that balance, carrying an extra $260 penalty in pure interest. But life does not happen in a vacuum. Think about your own cash flow. What happens if a second $800 emergency strikes right here in month 8, before the first one is even paid off? The math gets punishing. Stacking high-interest balances simultaneously consumes your monthly cash flow, accelerating the interest cycle and stretching a minor setback years into the future. People feel perpetually behind because of these rolling, credit-financed shocks. Each predictable crisis is financed at a brutal rate, simply because there was no dedicated cash buffer ready to absorb it first. Lifestyle inflation and a missing emergency fund share the exact same root failure. Spending decisions happening automatically instead of deliberately. Fixing this does not require extreme budgeting or tracking every penny in a spreadsheet. It requires 2 precise, achievable steps. Step 1. Federal Reserve research notes that having just $1,000 in emergency savings cuts the likelihood of a severe financial hardship in half. It is a highly specific threshold that immediately limits your downside risk. Step 2. Every time your income rises, automate a direct deposit split into a separate investment account the exact same week the raise hits. You bypass mental accounting entirely by redirecting the money before your spending has time to adjust. By replacing a default pattern with a deliberate one, you simultaneously capture the wealth you gain and protect yourself against the money unexpectedly taken from you. These are the 2 mistakes that destroy your daily cash flow. In Part 2, we break down the 3 remaining silent mistakes, the ones that compound into missing 6 figures by the time you turn 45. The hardest financial truth of your 20s is that the math of compounding does not care about your excuses for waiting. You might feel like you need a higher salary before taking your finances seriously, but delaying these decisions destroys future wealth. Time matters far more than capital. Take 2 people. Person A opens a Roth IRA at age 25 and invests $6,000 a year, earning a historical 7% average annual return. Person B does the exact same thing, but waits until age 35 to start. This chart shows the projected divergence across a 40-year timeline. By age 65, Person A reaches $971,544. Person B, despite making the same annual contributions, finishes with barely half of that. Person B still contributed a massive amount of cash to their account. They simply invested for 10 fewer years. That 10-year head start is worth over $473,000. The difference in their final destination is entirely about when the clock started. Today, we will fix this delayed investing mistake, along with 2 other invisible money leaks. We will permanently overwrite these passive financial defaults with math-backed systems you can put in place right now. To understand why a 10-year delay costs $500,000, we have to look at how investment timelines actually work. The growth of money over decades is driven by nonlinear compound growth. This chart highlights the final 10 years of the investment horizon. Notice how growth in this last decade dwarfs the first, multiplying an already massive base. Person A's contributions grow on top of previous growth, compounding for a decade longer than Person B's. You might feel like you have $0 spare to invest right now. That is a legitimate constraint. But usually the real barrier is the belief that a small investment today isn't worth the effort compared to a larger one later. Delaying your investments costs you the specific years of compounding that money would have earned on top of itself. These early years are mathematically worth more than almost any other window in your entire career. This principle applies directly to your career income as well. Research from Carnegie Mellon University shows that employees who negotiate their starting salary gain an average 7.4% advantage over those who simply accept the first offer. This diagram compares a standard $55,000 base offer against a negotiated $59,000 salary. On its own, that $4,000 gap might not seem catastrophic, but corporate raise structures harbor a hidden trap. Future raises and subsequent job offers are almost always calculated as a percentage increase on your base salary, not a flat reset. This chart shows how that initial gap compounds through every single raise and promotion for the rest of a 40-year career. The empty space between these columns represents a lifetime loss of over $600,000. Pew Research shows that a massive share of workers skip this conversation out of pure discomfort. However, recent data confirms that employers expect a counteroffer, and professional negotiation rarely results in a pulled offer. Staying silent guarantees you accept the lowest possible baseline for the rest of your career. Negotiation is the highest return conversation you can have. There is a third invisible leak that drains your money quietly over decades. While most treat their credit score as background noise, ignoring it creates a staggering hidden dollar cost. This dashboard breaks down the math on a standard $30,000 auto loan. A borrower with poor credit pays an extra $160 a month, resulting in a $9,500 penalty on one single loan. On a $300,000 mortgage, the gap becomes even more severe. Improving your score from 620 to 760 saves $56,000 in total interest. Excellent credit scores are built through a boring, decade-long pattern of on-time payments and low utilization. They are not the result of a single massive financial maneuver. You cannot retroactively manufacture 10 years of credit history. If you arrive at 32 with a thin or damaged file, the clock cannot be rewound. Your 20s are the single highest leverage window to start this history. All 5 of these mistakes result from relying on passive defaults instead of making deliberate choices. To fix this, we are using the Complete Action Framework. Step 1. Automate lifestyle inflation. The moment you get a raise, redirect 30 to 50% of it into savings or investments the same week it hits your account. Step 2. Build your emergency fund. Create a strictly isolated $1,000 buffer immediately. This specific target reduces retirement hardship withdrawal risk by half. Step 3. Fix delayed investing. Open an investment account this month. The timing of your first contribution matters more than the amount. Step 4. Default to negotiation. Simply asking an informed question about whether there is room to discuss a salary offer captures the majority of the available career upside. Step 5. Build your credit history. Open one card, use it for small, predictable expenses, and pay the statement balance in full every single month. Never carry a balance to build credit. That is a myth. The version of you at 35 will inherit whatever you decide, or fail to decide, this week. Pick one item from this list, drop it in the comments and take the action tied to it today.